Okay, so here we are. We are solving systems of linear equations using substitution. We're using digits, and we are in our student companion on page 139. We're doing our launch. So yesterday we learned a little bit about this method called substitution, and today we're just going to take that a little bit further. So solve the system of equations shown. Tell what you did. Well, over here it says y equals x. And over here it says 3x minus 2y equals 3. So basically we could either substitute in x for y right here, or we could substitute in y for x over here, because x equals y and y equals x, so they're the same. And watch, we'll do y in for this x right here. So we get 3y minus 2y equals 3. Well, 3y minus 2y is just y, so y equals 3. Now, obviously we want to solve for our ordered pair. So if y equals 3, what does x equal? Well, if we put this 3 back up into this equation right here, we get 3 equals x. So not only does y equal 3, but x equals 3 as well. And if we would have done it the opposite way, if we would have substituted x in for y right here, I'll do that in red, we would have gotten 3x minus 2x equals 3, and the same thing would have happened. X equals 3, and if x equals 3, then y equals 3. So both x and y equal 3. We also want to make sure that we're telling what we did. So we want to say what we did is we substituted x for y, then solved for y. And then of course we got y equals 3, so x equals 3. All right. Now if we go down to the very bottom, it says reflect. What does the equal sign mean? And what they mean is in this launch, what does the equal sign mean? How does that affect how you solve this problem? Well, the equal sign just means the same as. So equal sign means the same as. So x is the same as y. Y is the same as x. So that's why 3 and 3 are both the answer, because they're the same. And this affects our problem because x is the same as y. All right. So now again, they gave you this whole page to do this tiny little problem up here. So I'm going to have you write some notes. So some side notes, we want to write our key concept. And our key concept is substitution. So our key concept, substitution. And we're going to write the steps for substitution. So steps involving solving for x or y. So first thing you're going to do is solve for your first variable. Solve for first variable. So 1. Step number 2. Solve for second variable. For second variable. Step number 3, you're going to write your solution. Write your solution, and your solution should be an ordered pair because that's where two lines cross. So I'm going to put our little ordered pair reminder, and you should fill in these blanks with numbers. Kind of looks like an owl, a sleeping owl. Step number 4 is going to be to check your answer. So we'll write the big check mark. Check your answer. All right, so that is our steps. We're going to solve for our first variable, whether it be x or y. Then we'll solve for the second variable, whether it be x or y. Write your solution in an ordered pair, then check your solution. Here we go. So we're now on page 140, if you flip your page over. What is the solution of the system if the ordered pair is in the form p comma q? Use substitution. Well, p comma q is the same as x comma y. So don't get confused just because they use p's and q's in this one. Don't get confused. It's the same as x, y. So basically x equals p and q equals y. And be careful because P and Q look alike. They're just flipped around, so be careful. So, just like yesterday, we're going to substitute 4 minus Q in for this P. So why don't we go ahead and do that? We have 4 times 4 minus Q. Remember, our P goes away, so this now goes right in for P. Plus Q equals 1. So now we distribute. We get 16 minus 4Q plus Q equals 1. Now we combine like terms, so we get 16 minus 3Q, because negative 4Q plus Q is 3Q, equals 1. Now we want to subtract 16 from both sides, because remember, we're solving for that Q. So when we subtract 16 from both sides, we get negative 3Q, these cancel, equals negative 15. And now what do? We divide both sides by negative 3, and we get our Q equals positive 5, because a negative divided by negative is a positive. So remember, it goes P then Q. So Q equals positive 5. P equals something that we haven't found yet. So now that we have Q, we're going to decide which one of these equations, this one here or this one here, do we want to put in 5 for Q and solve for P. Well, I would say the first one seems a little bit easier. So we're going to say P plus Q, P equals 4 minus Q. Well, Q is 5, so 4 minus Q. So P equals negative 1. So our solution is negative 1, 5. Notice we solved for our first variable. We solved for our second variable. Now, how do we check it? We'll do the check in red. The way we check it is we say, if this is true, if we put both of these values in for this one, it should be correct. So it should be negative 1 equals 4 minus 5, and negative 1 does equal 4 minus 5. So we are happy. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to flip to page 141, or actually look over on page 141, and I want you to try, number 1. What is the solution? Use substitution. You might do it off in the margin. So pause me here and you try this. Okay, so you should have gotten 7, 3. How you got that was you put in 3y minus 2 for x right here. You distributed, solved, and got y equals 3. You then put 3 in, you substituted 3 in for y right here, and solved it out and got x equals 7. So 7, 3. Okay, so in 6-1, I believe, you got this almost same exact problem. Marine biologists studied the lengths of 2 sharks for several years. Initial length for the Greenland shark was 37 centimeters. Rate of growth was 0.75. Initial length for the spiny dogfish shark was 22. Rate of growth was 1.5 centimeters per year. And we came up with 2 equations, and you might remember them, and just in case you didn't, I'm going to go ahead and do them right now. It was the length, so the total length equals 37 plus 0.75t. Now this just means 37 centimeters, and then each year they're growing 0.75 centimeters. And this is for the Greenland shark. We'll do that one in green for Greenland. Now for spiny dogfish shark, I'll do in blue. We got the total length equals 22 plus 1.5 t. And this means their initial length was 22 centimeters, and then each year they grow 1.5 centimeters, so that's 1.5 times t for time, 1.5 centimeters a year. Now what they want us to do, we just came up with these before, but now what they want us to do is solve at what time, what age are both these sharks going to be the same length? And that's going to be represented by what their solution is. So I'm going to use substitution. I'm going to substitute 37 plus 0.75 t in for this L, because both of these L's are equal, right? This L is the same as this L, which means 37 plus 0.75 t is the same as 22 plus 1.5 t. So how this looks is 37 plus 0.75 t is equal to or the same as 22 plus 1.5 t. Now what this means when we solve this out is it's going to give us what length and how many years it will take that these two sharks will be the same, at what length will be the same, and how many years. So let's solve for t. We subtract 0.75 t from both sides. And we get 37, because these cancel out, equals 22. And 1.5 minus 0.75 gives us a positive 0.75 t. Now we subtract 22 from both sides. Don't get thrown off just because it's a decimal. It's the same process. This is now 15 equals 0.75 t. And we divide both sides by 0.75. And if we put this in a calculator or did the division really quick, we would get that t equals 20. So now we want to solve for L. So this means it's going to take 20 years. Remember, t is the rate, t in time. So t is 20. So t equals 20 years. They will be the same length. Now what is that length? Well, if we put 20 into either one of these, we'll be able to solve it. I'm going to try this one. So I'll change colors to purple. So length is 37 centimeters plus 0.75 centimeters per year. And for how many years? 20 years. 0.75 times 20 is going to give us 15. 15 plus 37 is going to give us the length in centimeters of that of those sharks, and that is 52. So that means in 20 years each of these sharks' length will be equal, and that equal length will be 52 centimeters. And of course, since it's a word problem, we need to answer in a complete sentence. So I put in 20 years both sharks will be 52 centimeters long. So go ahead and put that on in your box as well. Now what I want you to do is, again, on the next page, page 141, I want you to try number 2. So pause me here and you try number 2. Check your answer. And yeah, pause here. Okay, so in case you're stuck, I just put the systems of equations right here. T equals 77 minus 1h and t equals 65 plus 2h. See if you can solve from there. So pause me here. And if you can't solve from there, or if you already did, here is the answer. Your system, then we of course substituted 77 minus h in for this t right here. Solved it out, we got h equals 4. Put 4 in, substituted 4 in for h, and we got t equals 73 degrees. So that means in 4 hours, both temperatures will be 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So now our last question is our focus question. Some systems cannot be solved by graphing. How can you use algebra to solve a system? Well, we just proved it. We use the substitution method. The substitution method. Substitution method. So if you don't feel like graphing, or if you can't solve it with graphing, go ahead and use substitution method. You might get decimals, you might get fractions, but at least you'll find the solution to your system. Yay! So go ahead and get started on 6.4 homework. I believe it's numbers 1 through 12 or maybe 1 through 15. It is on list in your digits platform.